everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. I think I have an interesting video for you. I think they're all interesting, but this one may be a little bit more so because something came to mind that I never thought before, and it's based on this email. I cannot remember if I've already gone over this email. I'm pretty good with once I'm done putting them in my completed folder. Like I save them all just in case I have to like refer back to one. But let's just do this because now I have a new insight that I want to share. So this is from Christian Zybarth. He says, "Hi Jared, I know you've done a couple of videos on this, watched them yesterday. I'm just not sure if they showed these diagrams or not, or if you knew about them or not. Forgive me if you have seen / used them and I missed it. That's okay, I don't even remember if I've used these. I've made so many videos. Okay. Your recent videos reminded me that a few years back, my best friend, who is an absolute wealth of knowledge, brought this up to me, that the visitor center could be converted to a temple. So I reached out to him and he reminded me of these diagrams. Yeah, and we have definitely talked about that on the channel, haven't we? In fact, I pulled it back up for this video. This is information from the Interpreter Foundation, and for anyone that's new, I want to read this really quick because this is going to set the stage for the rest of the video. Okay, so the church was worried that the land that they own, which here's the satellite image of it, right? I've been trying to figure out exactly what they own here, what the church owns. It doesn't seem like they own this rectangle in the like southeast corner of this large block, city block. But it looks like they own the rest of it, and I say that because you have like these little icons with the Angel Moroni with the trumpet over here, right here, and then down here. Even though it says Kansas City, Kansas facilities, it has the icon down here. I tried to find a website that specified it, but I couldn't find any. But anyway, the point is, for a long time, this whole area was just kind of nothing, and the City of Independence wanted to do something with it. So the church was worried about eminent domain, which is where the government can forcibly take your land and turn it into a road or other things that it deems needs to be built there. And so they constructed the Independence Visitor Center, which is right here. And it's right across from the original Temple Lot site. The Temple Lot site is owned by another church called the Church of Christ Temple Lot. And then these two large pieces of land right here with like the spiral temple and then this dome building, that's owned by the Community of Christ, formerly known as the RLDS Church. And then we have this lovely little piece right here. Oh, whoa. This little piece right here, that's the United Nations Peace Plaza. So, naturally. So I think this is the piece of land that the church owns, and that's going to come into play a little bit later in the video. Okay, so this is the story of building the visitor center for the church. Okay, so I'm just going to read here. This is from the Interpreter Foundation. They are really good. I love the Interpreter Foundation. Interestingly, in the development of those plans in early 1967, our church architect, Emil Fetzer, and with input directly from Alvin R. Dyer, and we did a video about him. He was a member of the First Presidency, and he was appointed to be over the consecrated lands or the sacred lands of Missouri. So he was involved in this. Directly from Alvin R. Dyer and approved by President David O. McKay, the awareness of the Joseph Smith-inspired, expanded 24-temple complex prepared in early 1833 was definitely taken into consideration. So going back to the email here, okay, Christian included these two images. Okay, the light green area on both maps is the original temple lot. Okay. So this is what it was supposed to look like if everything had gone right. This would have been the 24 temple complex. Okay, there were going to be 24, not just one temple. There were going to be 24. And this is what it would have looked like. This is what it looks like today, and we were just looking at that satellite image. So, like, I guess the first temple that would have been constructed would have been here on this piece of land that the Church of Christ temple lot owns, right? So that kind of throws a wrench into the plans, but I have something to share with you that may fix that problem, possibly. And then here you see my gosh, what's wrong with my brain right now? The visitor center, which I've pointed out in other videos. I have a whole playlist talking about the BYU Jerusalem Center, and I believe that those two buildings, this one right here, which seems like it's going to be turned into a temple, corresponds and is similar to, in architecture, at least like the outward appearance of it, to the BYU Jerusalem Center, which I also think will be a temple. I think that we're looking at the temples of the millennium, the temples of Jerusalem and New Jerusalem. So, okay. So remember this image again right here, the 24 temple complex, 24 temples, okay? So going back here, so as they were deciding on how to build the visitor center, they had that plan in mind. Okay, it says right here was definitely taken into consideration. On March 10th, 1967, a meeting of Dyer and Fetzer was held with McKay in his Hotel Utah apartment office. Dyer recorded the highlights of this session in his diary. Quote, "We reported to the president that our study in this direction was to undertake, if we could, to ascertain which of the temple buildings designated would presumably be located on that part of the temple land that the church owned." So that's like another way of saying, taking this into consideration, which one of these would have been on that piece of land that the visitor center was going to be built on, right? To ascertain which of the temple buildings designated would presumably be located on that part of the temple land that the church owned. This we had arrived at and would be consecrated upon for the erection of a building for the purpose intended, the basic structure of which could be used at a future date as part of the temple complex. So they wanted to know which building it would be in the temple complex, in that it says here that it could be used in the future as part of the temple complex. And as far as I know, that's probably still the plan. I haven't heard anything otherwise. Dyer continued, "The proposed structure would be 2 stories high with a floor dimension of 61 feet by 87 feet, which dimension is the same as revealed to the prophet Joseph Smith as the size of the complex buildings." Or in other words, the temples. Now, there's a really cool site. This is 3D temple models by Brian Olson. And here he has his rendering of what the temple would have looked like. Okay, so very similar to like the Kirtland temple. Now, this does not look like this, does it? But the dimensions are the same, and I think the dimensions don't include this like outer area where the arches are. I think it's this portion right here, because I measured it on Google Earth, and this was larger, but I couldn't get really the measurement of this inner part because it's hidden. So, but anyway, my first proposal is that it seems like if it needed to be used as a temple in the future, either this architecture is just temporary. Maybe they would take these arches down and then make it look like this right here, possibly. Or what I think is more likely is that if this does become a temple, that it'll simply, oops, sorry. What? Oh my gosh, I have so many tabs open. It would simply look like this. And I do think that that will be the case. Because like I said, I've made comparisons before between how this looks and the BYU Jerusalem Center with like the blocky top and then the arches right here. Okay. So, okay. So my proposal is that things can change. Okay. Even though this was the original intent right here, I don't think it's impossible that that could change. And now, whenever this happens, if it happens, that it would look like this instead. Okay. Now, looking at this, as we're looking at the satellite image, and like I said, it seems like the church owns this entire big rectangular area. And I was looking at the size of this, and I was just trying to, like, in my mind, trying to figure out, you know what, if they decided, if it was revealed that this would no longer be used as part of the temple complex, this right here, you know, I'm sure the Lord can be like, you know what, we're not going to do that anymore. It's going to be moved to right here, right? Because look, there's plenty of space, isn't there? And not a whole lot is being done with this land. We have this like stake center right here, and then something else right there. I guess this is like a normal chapel. I'm not sure. I think that this is a stake center. Anyway, aside from parking lots and the stake center and whatever this thing is down here, the Kansas City, Kansas facilities, there's not a whole lot going on this big piece of land. Okay, so what I did is I went to Google Earth, I did a screenshot, and then I copied, and in fact, let me just take you to it here. Okay, so this is the image that I started out with. And what I did is I copied this, I cloned it, I photoshopped it so I could like stamp it, like copy and paste all around here to see if these would fit. If you could fit 24 temples in here, kind of in the same pattern as this. And this is what I came up with. This is what it looks like. It looks like you can. It looks like you can easily with room to spare. You can even, if it needs to be, you see how there's like this road that goes between, it like cuts them in half. So you have 6 by 4, right, for the whole complex, and then these two halves, you have 3 by 4. So if we go back over here, you could easily do that. You could shift these right here, these 12, down this way a little bit, and if that's how it has to be, and there's going to be like a road right here, you could do it. Otherwise, if that doesn't matter, all you have to do is just tear down the stake center, get rid of the parking lots, maybe do underground parking or something like that, and then boom, you could have a 24 temple complex. These are the dimensions according to what we just read. This building, the visitor center, it matches the dimensions that have been revealed. So that's something to think about. I think that's something to think about. You know, maybe the time just isn't right, but I don't see why this couldn't happen. Now, I'm not saying that this will happen. It very well could be that this spot right here that's been already dedicated by Joseph Smith, you know, this might still have to be where one of the temples are built, and maybe it does have to be just like this. Here you can see what it currently looks like this kind of weird shape. So I don't know if like in the future the plan would be something has to happen to Kansas City, maybe like the Lord does something and this whole area is wiped clean. Maybe the church would buy Like if the community of Christ fails, and it does seem like they're kind of going downhill. I've covered that on the channel before too. If they start to fail, if they're not able to replenish their numbers, you know, as the youth become more and more secular, not religious, and that's a issue that they're facing. They've been selling historic assets that they have. Some have wondered if they're going to sell the Kirtland Temple, right, so that they can stay afloat. Well, any number of things could happen. Maybe they'll go under, and maybe we'll be able to purchase this land, and it'll become ours. With this Church of Christ temple lot, they're like even smaller than the community of Christ, and I mean they've held on for a long time, but anything could happen. What if they go under? And then maybe we'll be able to buy it. I don't know, but I'm just saying that this is another option down here. We have all this land, and we could absolutely do that. I'm sure we could do that at any given time. So this is just one way that if you're thinking, oh man, it's going to be so hard to build New Jerusalem and build the 24 complex or 24 temple complex, because we have to get this land over here that these other churches own. Well, with just one revelation from the Lord to the prophet, he could change it to this, and we could easily, without interrupting anybody else's worship, anybody else's church, or anything like that, we could easily just do this right here. Now, it may be more complicated than that. There may be things I'm not considering, but I'd like to hear your input. I'd like to hear what you think about this idea. Do you think this is a possibility? Do you think it's that for some reason this just cannot happen, that it has to be on that original temple lot? Let me know. But let me know why. And if you have like additional information that I'm not considering, feel free to comment or send it to me in an email. Okay. But I don't know. I like this. I like this because it makes it seem more doable. It makes it seem more like a reality, like this really could happen. It's just not the right time right now. And maybe pretty soon in the future, maybe it will be the right time. We'll just have to wait and see. So there were a couple things I wanted to read about this area. This is from the church website. This is history.churchofjesuschrist.org, and it's an article all about the temple lot and stuff like that. I just want to read a few things from it. What did the early saints plan to do with the temple lot? As the Lord continued to reveal his will to Joseph Smith, the saints came to understand that the temple lot and the land surrounding it were to be used for more than one sacred building. So here's the first drawing, the first plan, the original plat for the city of Zion. Here you would have had the temples. You see these like little squigglies right here. And then this would have been the city, okay, with like the roads, and it's like a big cube. Okay, so that is the original plat. In June 1833, the prophet Joseph Smith and his counselors in the first presidency prepared a plat for the city of Zion, a plan for the layout of the city. President Frederick G. Williams drew the plat, which called for bishop storehouses and 24 temples in the center of the city, surrounded by blocks divided into property for residences. The plat called for a square mile of land, more than 10 times the amount of property Bishop Partridge had purchased. The plat included a brief explanation of the 24 temples. They were to correspond to quorums and functions of the priesthood. 12 of them corresponded to the Melchizedek priesthood, and the other 12 corresponded to the Aaronic priesthood. The plat did not specifically explain the kinds of activities that would take place inside the temples. However, the saints' use of the Kirtland Temple from 1836 to 1838 suggests that the temples in Independence would have been used for worship, teaching, and learning, priesthood ordinances and blessings, church administration, and community functions. Each temple was to bear the inscription, "Holiness to the Lord." In August 1833, the first presidency prepared a revised plat for the city of Zion, and a revised plan for the temple that was to be built first. And I think that that's the temple in question, the one that's on the so-called temple lot that the Church of Christ temple lot owns. The plan for the temple included the following explanation, written by Oliver Cowdery. Quote, "Those patterns previously sent you per mail by our brethren were incorrect in some respects, being drawn in great haste. They have therefore drawn these, which are correct. The form of the city was also incorrect, being drawn in haste. We sent you another." Now, you can see here that this is actually a lot bigger. It's a lot bigger in scope compared to this, right? It's almost as though like you zoomed out and then you expanded it, right? Okay, so the revised plat called for a larger city, 1.5 square miles, with more lots for residents. It no longer featured storehouses in the city center, leaving only temples in that part of the city. It also shifted the temple blocks in their orientation from north-south to east-west. Okay. So see, right there, there was a change in the orientation of the temple blocks. And so, things, it seems like things could change. Things could change. I don't think things are necessarily set in stone. Now, it could be, maybe the Lord has a really, really good reason why it has to be where Joseph Smith placed the cornerstone. It could be, but it may also be that that's not the case. Don't know. Okay, both versions called for one certain temple to be built first. This temple was to be a house of the Lord for the first presidency. 10 in the first, what? 10, oh, it's not, I think that's supposed to be a footnote. In the first version, that temple was labeled with the number 5 and then with an X. In both versions, it was built on the spot now referred to as the temple lot. Oh, okay, well, there you go. The first one was supposed to be built where the temple lot is. In the final plan, it was to be 97 feet long and 61 feet wide, about 30 meters long by 19 meters wide within the walls. Although the two versions differed from each other in significant ways, their focus was essentially the same, both centered on sacred buildings in the heart of a covenant community. Both were patterns to be followed in stakes of Zion as the church continued to grow. Did the saints build any of those temples? Soon after the Lord revealed the plans for the city of Zion, the saints were forced to leave Jackson County. They did not build any of those 24 temples, but they did not forget the plat of Zion and patterned a community centered on holy temples, worship, covenants, unity in faith, and consecrated service. They followed this pattern in other settlements, such as Far West Missouri, Nauvoo, Illinois, and Salt Lake City. And, being from Salt Lake, we're kind of, there's always complaints usually from people from out of state because when you go to Salt Lake, let's just do it really quick. When you go to Salt Lake, it is a grid. Now, there's a lot of other cities that have grids too, but like Salt Lake is really, really a grid. So much so that many of the streets don't even have names. They just have numbers. So, for example, you have 7200 South, and this is like from the temple. So 7200 South, 7500 South, or 75th South, 78th, 80th, right? And that's how it goes. And that's going, the numbers get larger as you go further south from the temple, which is up here. There's Ballpark. There's the University of Utah, downtown. And so the temple... Sorry, I have to find the temple. There it is. So this intersection right here, this is like 0. 0, 0, 0. Okay, it's the intersection of South Temple and Main Street. And then over here you have State Street, which would be like 100 east. but it's called State Street. But then you have 200 East, 300 East, 4th, 5th, and so on, and going east and west, north and south. So it's a grid. Now, Phoenix is also a grid, but not in the same way. This one, Salt Lake City, is very gritty. It's a very gritty place. Let's go back here. Okay. Let's see if there's any. Okay. Why is the temple lot significant today? To answer this question, we return to the words of Revelation. This is the land of promise, the Lord declared, and the place for the city of Zion. The place which is now called Independence is the center place, and a spot for the temple is lying westward. We do not know exactly how, when, or where these words will be fulfilled, but we do know that the rectangle of land in Independence is sacred. It has been dedicated to the Lord. The Lord's revelations about that land and the principles of gospel living that are woven into these revelations are part of his people's past, present, and future. Okay? The day will come, and, it'll happen either way. Whether it happens this way, like I said, it could happen very easily, or there may be some other miraculous means or something that happens that allows us to get that other land. So we'll just have to wait and see. Here is a picture. I've seen this before. They may do this like occasionally. These are members of that church, the Church of Christ Temple Lot, and they're doing a human chain to basically outline where the temple would have been. Okay, so this is like where the temple would have been right here. Let's see. Now, I want to read, to finish this off, I want to read just a little bit of this. The first prophet of the last dispensation, this is President Joseph Fielding Smith. The following address by President Joseph Fielding Smith was delivered at the dedication of the new Visitor Center at Independence, Missouri, on May 31st, 1971. Services were held outside, accompanied by much thunder and lightning. Now, this is where this kind of gets interesting. Outside with a lot of thunder and lightning, but only a drop or two of rain. As soon as the services were completed, a drenching rain began falling. Isn't that... it's like the little signs, the little and big miracles that take place with these special buildings, the BYU Jerusalem Center and the Independence Visitor Center. It's just, I feel like it highlights that they really are special places, more than just what they currently are. Independence is of great historical significance to the church, since the area was designated by revelation to Joseph Smith as the City of Zion. Land for a temple was dedicated in 1831. The new Visitor Center is a portion of that land. President N. Eldon Tanner of the First Presidency gave the dedicatory address and prayer. I want to read just a little bit of President Joseph Fielding Smith's remarks here, dedicating the center, or the visitor center. I'm very grateful to have the privilege of participating in the dedication of this visitor center and of raising my voice in testimony and thanksgiving relative to some great and eternal truths that are directly associated with this undertaking. Now that's really cool. Okay, we are assembled at a historic place, one that is hallowed by the memories of what has transpired here, and one that is sacred to the Latter-day Saints because of what is yet to come, right? Because this will be Zion. This will be the center place. Because of that part that Jackson County, Missouri has played and will yet play in this dispensation, I desire to call attention to two great truths. First, that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and second, that Joseph Smith is a prophet. I mention the first, which is one of the greatest truths ever revealed to man, as a prelude to bearing testimony of the second. May I say as plainly and as forcefully as I can that we believe in Christ, we accept him without reservation as the Son of God and the Savior of the world. And then he goes on, and it's mostly about Christ and Joseph Smith, and not really so much about Independence or the Visitor Center or anything like that. But I just like that he confirms right here that it is still intended to be, the center place, the center place design. There's been speculation about other places like Salt Lake, and I really don't think that that's the case, because there's so much to back up the idea that it will be in Jackson County, including this, but also on the current church website talking about this section here, talking about Independence, Missouri, and the Temple Lot. So, okay, I think that was pretty much it. I'm not going to go over that. Yeah, that's going to be it. Okay, so that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, let me know what you think about this. Like I said before, do you think that this right here is a possibility? I do. I'm not going to set my hopes or get my hopes up or plan on this happening, but it kind of makes me happy that there is this possibility if it comes down to it. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it. Leave your comments. Make sure to share this with anyone that is interested in the New Jerusalem, about the center place, about the temple complex. Share this, because I don't know if I'm the first one that's ever thought about this. Probably not, but I've never seen it until now. So I would encourage you to share it. And I'll talk to you guys later.